Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is Jeff Delto of Convergence Training, back again with another one of our webinar audiocast podcast series. And today we're in the world of occupational safety and health. We have a special guest, Abby Ferry, and her dog Dozer, who I'm told is a Mastifador. She can tell us more about that. Abby is a vice president in national construction practice with Hayes Company, an insurance company. She's also, for the purposes of this discussion, she's a very active member in the ASSP, an active member in the part of the ASSP called WISE, which I believe is Women in Safety Excellence. We'll ask Abby about that in a little second. A participant in something called the Women's Workplace Safety Summit, and she's going to tell us a little bit about that summit and a report. And in addition to telling us about issues related to women in safety in general and WISE, the Women's Workplace Safety Summit, she's also going to be telling us specifically about women and PPE and some problematic issues related to that. So with that, Abby, hello, and how are you today?
Hey, thank you for that very interesting introduction. I'm doing really well, thank you.
I'm glad. So we've warned everybody that we might hear Dozer barking, and there's a bird attacking my window as well. So we've got that out of the way. Could you tell us a little bit?
And there's a thunderstorm.
And a thunderstorm.
Yes, there's a lot going on.
Could you tell us a little about yourself, Abby?
Sure. I guess I consider myself a safety person. I don't know if I have any other identity at the moment or the past 16 years other than a safety professional. So my home industry that I prefer to work in is construction, and that's where I started right out of college. And that's where I'm at now, working with Hayes in their national construction practice.
Great. And what about your work with the ASSP and WISE? Can you tell us a little bit about that and about what WISE is in particular?
Definitely. So WISE is what's called a common interest group that's part of the American Society of Safety Professionals, ASSP. And so when ASSP went through their name change, they were formerly ASSE, we had to change the E in WISE from engineering to something. So Jamie Ingalls, one of our advisory committee members at WISE, suggested excellence. So that stuck, and so we're now Women in Safety Excellence. And the group has I think we're almost at 3,000 members. And so that's a huge deal considering that people have to pay a little bit extra to be a part of this common interest group and that they choose to do so. So we're happy to have the membership numbers that we do, but even better, and what I've learned from being the WISE administrator, is that we have just a super highly engaged and activated membership that I would put our common interest group up against, not that it's a competition with safety, but I'd put us up against any practice specialty or other common interest group at ASSP as far as engagement from members. There's something going on every single day with WISE, whether it's celebrating something that a member has accomplished or helping a WISE member get through something at their organization. The WISE group has been just one of the biggest benefits to me in my career, and it's a reason that I stick with ASSP membership.
Great. Well, as an ASSP member and a member of the Training and Communications Practice Specialty, I will vouch for WISE and how active you guys are. So I entirely see that myself, and if you hadn't said it, I might have said it as well. So they're doing good work. If anybody's interested in learning more about WISE, go check that out. Now, Abby, as part of WISE, you've been working in something called the Women's Workplace Safety Summit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So the Women's Workplace Safety Summit came up, this was probably late 2017, early 2018, when Jim Smith was president of the ASSE at that time. And he approached Kelly Burnish, who at that time was the administrator of WISE, about doing this summit, which was similar to something that the Hispanic Safety Professionals group had done already. So we thought it was a great idea, obviously, and just had to then figure out, well, what are we going to approach? What are we trying to solve? What do we want to do? So the WISE Advisory Committee got together, and really it looked like any brainstorming session that you've probably seen, with the huge Post-it notes on the walls and then smaller Post-it notes on those Post-it notes and notes going on at the tables and conversation everywhere. And when you think of women and safety, or women in the workplace also, we came up with so many things that we wanted to look at further, or that we just want to solve. And there were 3 topics that emerged as the most pressing, or ones that we felt as a group within ASSP that we could have some pull and that we could really get some things done.
There's Dozer.
Oh my gosh. So, and there's the UPS person. So that's not going to get any better. So maybe he'll be quiet. So we came up, oh my gosh, are you going to edit this where I can start over?
Oh,
that's bad.
Don't worry, just go ahead.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
okay.
People have dogs. It'll be okay. There we go.
Okay.
Those are quiet.
Well, I muted it to yell at him. It'll get better once the UPS driver leaves. I mean, how dare they come to our neighbor's house and deliver things from Amazon or Crate and Barrel or whatever.
I think we're all happy to know that Dozer's on the job.
Dozer's on the job. He never rests. Okay. And Dozer's been a part of a lot of my conference calls in the past. So I guess now more people know Dozer. Anyway, so the WISE Advisory Committee, we took all these notes and Post-it notes and great ideas and decided on 3 pillars, or 3 main focus areas that we felt we could really have an impact. And realizing that us as women safety professionals, that we have some concerns, but also, and a lot of us would say more importantly, that the workers that we serve in our organizations, that those women face a lot of adversity in the workplace. So the 3 topics, the first one is PPE fit, which, I mean, that topic, it was probably the first thing that anyone mentioned. And so we knew that was going to be one of the focus areas. And these are really in no particular order. Another topic is elevating women into leadership and executive roles at their organizations. And also part of that would be getting more women into the field to begin with as well, but mostly about advancing women into those really high up executive roles. And then the other topic is workplace violence, because homicide is the leading cause of death for women in the workplace. And often it's perpetrated by someone that they know, whether it's a spouse, partner, former spouse or partner, or a client, often, where we've seen workplace violence be a big concern for people in healthcare and social work and those types of fields where people are working very one-on-one with their clients, and the clients may have some I don't really know the right word to say with this, but instabilities or other factors at play. So those are the 3 topics, and ASSP worked with us to have a place for this summit, where it wasn't going to be something that was just, hey, we're focusing on these 3 topics, now let's go forth. But we felt it was important to have a sense of community and some in-person conversations and facilitation, and inviting people from outside the usual ASSP realm. There's many groups that we invited and that did attend the summit that usually that you wouldn't see at ASSP events. So it was awesome to engage them and engage some of the usual suspects in a different way. So we convened that first ever Women's Workplace Safety Summit in October of 2018. And so since then, we've been working on initiatives that were discussed and brought forward at the summit, and continue to just keep rolling, because these issues haven't gone away. In fact, some of them have either gotten worse or are currently elevated into more of a general scope as far as the mainstream and being in the media, and something that people outside of safety are talking about.
Great. I like that you brought in, outsiders to talk about these issues. I think that's a really productive way to problem solve. So you talked about 3 big topics you guys are pushing. One of them has to do with violence at the workplace for women. We've already kind of touched on that a little bit at the Convergence Training blog with an interview with Hannah Curtis, talking about the SHOOT study from University of Washington. So heads up on that for people out there listening. But you're going to focus on the women in PPE issue for the rest of this interview. Before you do, though, if I recall correctly, there is a report that's out now and 3 videos. Can you just briefly tell us what those are? And I'll make sure to get links in this article to those that one report and those 3 videos as well.
Yes, ASSP came out with a technical report that goes a little bit deeper into the 3 issues that I mentioned and some of the data that made us decide to focus on these concerns, and then also some ideas on next steps and where we're going with how to solve some of these problems. So that report, like you said, it can be downloaded, and it's awesome for safety professionals, of course, but it's something that I'm hoping safety professionals will share with other people in their organizations. So people that are internal stakeholders to safety policies that safety professionals are very close with, maybe bringing in human resources, CFOs, CEOs, and also for field level supervision as well. I think it's really great information for pretty much anyone in the workplace that is concerned about what their workers are facing.
All right, great.
And then the videos, yes. So each pillar topic, the PPE fit, the women in leadership, executive leadership roles, and workplace violence, each of those topics has, it's kind of like a preview video, like a trailer for their piece of the report, where multiple people that were at the safety summit were interviewed on site just to get some more background on why we're studying these things and a bit about where we're going. So I'll make sure you have those links so people can see those as well and get an idea for some of the other people that we're involving in this process.
Great. Well, thanks so much. Okay, so if your job, what we're hoping to hear from you today is about women in PPE. Maybe you could start by telling us just a little bit about what the general situation is with women in PPE at the workplace. Yeah,
so a lot of times women we're all different shapes and sizes, and one of the key PPE issues that jumped out at me a few years ago when I got involved with WISE and our fashion show that we have every year at the ASSP's convention is that women were modifying different parts of their PPE or work apparel, and in doing so, that it would either violate what the manufacturer wanted them to use the equipment for, or it would be so obvious that they modified their equipment and make the worker look like she didn't know what she was doing. And that really struck me because some of the people that were modifying the equipment, the example that I use all the time is coveralls, FR coveralls, that it was women that were in safety that should know better. And they felt they didn't have any other option but to modify their gear. And so that topic, it's very interesting to me because there's this psychological aspect of it that you can say, oh, it's just, we got to find the right stuff to fit people. Well, when you talk to people that have had these issues in the workplace, and it could be that you're short and skinny, or that you are short and curvy, or at the other side of the spectrum that you're super tall and lanky, or just everything, every shape and size that you can think of, that people haven't been able to find the right fit. So you can imagine, especially if you're on those outside margins, maybe you already kind of stick out to people in your workplace as looking different because of your shape or size. And now it's made even worse because your PPE doesn't fit you, or the employer has a fit because they have to now buy special things for one worker and they're not happy about that. So the psychological impact has been pretty big because workers may just modify their PPE. And like I said, it might not offer them the proper protection, or they know that it's not offering them the proper protection, but they'd rather look more like they know what they're doing by trying to make their PPE or work apparel fit them. Or on the flip side, and I'm guilty of judging a little bit on this, take a hard hat, for example, and you can ratchet down the hard hat or size it down to the smallest size. And there's still people that isn't good enough. And the hard hat will flop to one side or the other. And when I see that on a job site, if someone's hard hat is kind of askew off to the side one way or the other, to me, it signals that person doesn't know what the heck they're doing. And come to find out, it's because they can't get the proper fit from the PPE. So a person that knows that they're walking around with their PPE not fitted properly, they know that people are judging them. They know that people think they don't know what they're doing, and that can wear on a person. And in the case of many women, we've seen that people have even just exited the workplace altogether because their employer wouldn't listen to them when they needed the proper gear, or they just felt they had to make do with what they had, but then they didn't feel safe. So they've left these workplaces. So then it becomes a retention issue as well.
Okay, great intro to that. So one of the terms I've learned from you, in fact, is a phrase called "shrink in pink." Could you can you tell us what that means and what's wrong with it? Why we need something better?
Yeah, so you have to be careful when you look up certain things on your favorite search engine, I'm sure women in hard hats or women's safety equipment, because you'll either find something that's not safe for work, or it'll be something likely that's pink or purple. And when I've talked to vendors about, just ask the casual question of, do you have any PPE that's geared towards women? And they'll show me, oh, look, we have this pink glove and it's tiny. And I'm just thinking, okay, my hands are smaller than some guys, on the job sites, but I don't have small hands, and I definitely don't want to wear pink. And there are women that, sure, they like to wear pink or purple or those types of colors at the job site. But from my experience, I don't like it, and there's many women that don't like it either. So, and the whole problem is that when these PPE and apparel manufacturers, when they just give women stuff that's pink, it's not rooted in any science. Where does science or data point to that women's PPE will protect them or fit better if it's pink? That doesn't make any sense. And there's been vendors that we've done some wise outreach to make sure that they understand that women's sizing doesn't just mean smaller version of men's sizing, that there's a lot of different fit concerns with women, that they may be curvier, and so they need a smaller size as far as length, but as far as width, they need some more width. So making sure that there's options available for all body types. And I want to bring up an issue too that's come up since we've been elevating a lot of this PPE fit conversation, is that I've had men contact me and say, well, men need all sizes too. And this is true. And it's not something that we've, tried to run away from or negate at all. But in bringing up the fit issues that women have on all ends of the spectrum and having greater size options available, that it's going to benefit the men that are not the big and tall, that they're bigger and taller, or that they're shorter and thinner. And so it's going to benefit them too.
That's a good point. So I guess you talked about shrink in pink. You talked about how while some women might want to wear pink, other people might not, and maybe it might not help a woman fit in, or she might not feel respected if she's wearing pink. But you also mentioned it's not simply an issue of shrinking PPE to fit a man's PPE to fit a woman, because there's different proportions going on. And then you talked about the fact that, and then you talked about the fact that men and women both have a need for diverse sizes of PPE. And I have a follow-up question for you on that one, because I'm sure it's true for men, but I'm also sure because there are probably more men in a lot of these workforces, there's more economic incentive for a PPE producer to make those outlier sizes for men, and maybe a little bit less of an economic incentive for those same producers to make those outlier sizes that are proportioned for women. Is that an issue you run into? And do you have any thoughts about how to get over that hurdle?
Absolutely. Yes. And this is something that came up in our PPE work group at the summit, is that often it's cost prohibitive for an employer to make available just a couple smaller sizes or just a couple of the larger sizes. So then they just don't. I know me in the past at job sites, they just throw you a large or extra large vest and large gloves, and that's what you wear.
Yeah, make do.
Yeah, you just make do with it. And people think that large to extra large, or maybe large to double extra large, is like the one size fits most. And so we'll just do that and it'll be fine. Something that we talked about at the summit was that, look at the availability of products that we can get for the home and clothing that we can buy for ourselves, and it's at our door in 2 days or less. Why not that way with PPE? Why would a manufacturer have to enforce this minimum quantity for a contractor in Los Angeles when there's a warehouse that's probably nearby that could serve LA, New York, Dallas, Minneapolis? It could serve all of us, and we could all order that equipment and have it within a couple of days. No minimum order, or less minimum order than in the past. So we have found that a lot of the pushback is on the purchasing, where the people may just not be aware that there's other options available that are making the purchasing decisions, or they just decide, well, if I have to buy 5 of those in order to make the order work, that they just won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So just better education on the part of the purchasers and the employers, but also better options being made available by those manufacturers and distribution warehouses.
All right, great. So thank you. So getting back, drilling down on this fit issue, if there's more to say, what are women sometimes forced to do when they're provided with PPE that doesn't fit? If maybe you can give us some examples, and maybe some examples of how that is, increases hazards or is increasingly dangerous.
Definitely. So with the FR coveralls, people were cutting the sleeves or cutting the pant legs or rolling them up. Mm-hmm. And I know that that's against those manufacturers' instructions for those garments because they're made a certain way to protect the employee. So that's one thing that people are doing with safety vests. I've seen people you just deal with it, where you're walking around and you're a average size person and you have this double extra large or extra large vest on because that's what was available. So you just look kind of silly. So you make do is the other option. So, or people have gone out and purchased their own equipment and at their own cost. And, that presents a lot of issues too. And as far as employers being required to provide certain PPE for workers, where if they're technically not making the option available and the worker is going out and buying something that fits them, that the employer could get in some trouble there as well.
Gotcha. All right. So your committee, as I understand it, has identified some next steps and some additional ways to gather more information. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like what's next?
Yeah. So one of the big things that we came up with the PPE group is that we needed more data to go on, because safety professionals and the people making purchasing decisions, they want to see the information. They want to see the data on why this is important. And so the thing is that many studies and the way that PPE is tested is often based on men or a man of an average size. So there's the data that's out there realizing there are numbers, but they may not reflect what women are actually looking for with their PPE. We've also been involved by having some representation at the ANSI Z359 committee on fall protection. Mm-hmm. And so that's been leading to some really interesting conversations that could be applied to almost any type of PPE, where we're looking at fit guidelines. And instead of sizing things with a letter like small, medium, large, why not do sizing based on actual measurements so that someone can understand, oh, I'm 5'9" and this many pounds, that this size fall protection harness would probably be better for me, instead of just guessing. I know in the past when I've asked workers, mostly men, to tell me what size they are, guess what size they say they are?
I'm guessing they say large. Yep.
Yes. So that goes for fall protection harnesses and respirators. And often when you actually do the measurements or they try things on, you find that that's not the size that the person is, whether they need to go up or down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's kind of a little machismo to the assumption that we're all an L.
Yeah. And then who knows, maybe you would ask us women and we'd all say a size smaller, right? So, and then women's apparel, just the sizing is so problematic anyway. It's the same as what we've dealt with in department stores and buying clothes for years, is the whole vanity sizing thing. Mm-hmm. And also no continuity in sizes. So you look at how men usually purchase jeans. You want to know your inseam and you want to know your waist measurement. Mm-hmm. Women, when we go and purchase jeans, it's a number.
The number, and that number
that could vary from brand to brand.
Store to store. Yep.
Exactly. And I remember going through the ASSP Expo last year, or the year before, and there was a brand that was really excited to show us their women's clothing, and it was numbered sizing, but it was odd numbers. And so with women's sizing, it's even numbers. So like 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and onward. And so using odd numbers is indicative of junior sizes. So there's that aspect, the education piece on how to even size or how to express what these sizes are for the equipment or the apparel. So other things that came out of our action items related to the sizing are those fit guidelines, and then also potential for more end users to actually try different equipment before it hits the market. So there's been some fall protection harnesses and some other equipment in the past that a manufacturer thinks they're coming up with the latest and greatest and let's gear this towards women. And then women try it out and it doesn't have that intended impact. It's not really solving any problems. But if they had involved some women end users in the process, they could have worked through some of those issues and came up with a better product before they went to market. So again, leading from that fall protection discussion, there's some manufacturers that are now seeing the light and trying to assemble focus groups of women to actually try out their products to make sure that they are meeting the real demands of what women need on the job site.
Great. Now, that last point about getting input from the women, is that related to the need that your organization had identified for PPE ratings and reviews, or is that an additional point I should be asking you about?
It relates to it, yeah. So we talked about fit modeling and then also ratings and reviews, similar to like if you go, well, any shopping online, we all read the reviews. Mm-hmm. So being able to have some kind of mechanism to get those reviews and ratings, and to be able to see that as someone makes purchasing decisions, to see what are the common fit issues, or what are people saying? Is it really a true large, or is it not true to size? Does it run small? Does it run large? Things like that, so people can make better purchasing decisions.
Okay, great. So we started off by mentioning there's a report out and 3 videos. Where by the time people see this as a written article, we'll have links for that. What about future plans for additional publications and maybe conference presentations? Anything going on along those lines?
Yes and yes. So with the Women's Workplace Safety Summit, there's a planning committee that's overseeing the 3 focus areas and what we're doing with it. And one of the action items was to create a roadshow, which would be a presentation that WISE members and especially people that were involved in that first summit would be able to take and present at their local and regional events. So we're fine-tuning that. And also there's going to be further technical reports that are based on each topic. So PPE, we're working on an actual standard with ISCA at the moment about women's PPE. So that's in motion, and I don't have an update on when to expect it, but it's in the works as we speak. And other technical reports related to workplace violence and also to the women in the leadership positions as well. Those groups are working on similar, though not the same as working on an ISCA standard, but similar technical reports to get some information out to people to do better and to understand how they can make these problems, how they can attack these problems at their organization.
Great. If people are out listening or reading to this, and they want to participate or help in some way, how can they do that, Abby?
Yeah, so there is a landing page within the ASSP community for the Women's Workplace Safety Summit, and it's community.assp.org/WSS. And so anyone that has a username and password with ASSP.org can access that platform and get involved. It's a discussion board based platform where we have separate discussion boards for each of the 3 focus areas. And also, of course, being the administrator of WISE, I'm kind of a clearinghouse type of person for just getting people to the right people. So anyone can always feel free to reach out to me as well. And I facilitated the PPE work group. Kelly Burnish facilitated the workplace violence group, and Pam Wolofsky facilitated the women in leadership roles focus group.
Great.
So
And
each of us can answer those questions.
cool. And if people wanted to contact you and maybe they're not a member of the ASSP or something like that, where's the best place to track you down? I know I see you on LinkedIn a lot.
Yeah, so LinkedIn is always a great way to find me and interact in conversations because I'm bringing a lot of the Workplace Safety Summit conversations there. I'm not shy about giving out my email address, so people can always reach out to me through email. It's abbyferry@gmail.com. And also on the ASSP platform, you can tag me in there. That's pretty much the easiest ways to get in touch with me personally, to be funneled through somehow to participate meaningfully in this summit.
Great. Anything else that we should know about WISE or the Women's Workplace Safety Summit, or about issues involving women in PPE, or what to look out for in the future?
Yeah, so surprisingly with this PPE discussion, us safety professionals, sometimes we think that we're over in some other land compared to other people at our organizations or in the world in general. So it was surprising to me to have reporters reach out to me after the NASA spacesuit fiasco.
Mm-hmm.
And a Washington Post reporter actually found me through LinkedIn because of a conversation that was going on after I posted about the spacesuits and the not being able to have the two women on the spacewalk because NASA didn't have a second spacesuit of the same size for the other woman. And so I was interviewed for that. So that was definitely an interesting way to get the WISE message out there about the Women's Workplace Safety Summit that I never could have imagined. So the cool thing is that people are talking about these topics, even if it doesn't directly impact them. They likely know somebody that works in construction, or there's been a lot of women in law enforcement that have reached out about their issues with fit for gear that's supposed to protect them, like bulletproof vests while an officer is pregnant, being able to have access to larger sizes. So it's really almost open up the floodgates on communication about this concern. And so it was validating because the WISE group, we really were careful about the topics that we suggested and that we wanted to focus on. And it's exciting because more people are hearing our message and wanting to get involved. And so even though the topics that we're focusing on for the summit, not just the PPE fit, but all the topics, there are concerns that women in the industry and women in just any workplace in general have had concerns about for years. So I feel like attention from, I don't know if it's mainstream media, social media, whatever is going on right now, it just feels like it's a great opportunity to really problem solve and actually have some meaningful solutions to these things that have been talked about for years, but nothing has really been done.
All right. Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And I thank you, and I'm sure everybody out there thanks you for the good work you're doing, both yourself, the people with the Women's Workplace Safety Summit, the people in WISE, and ASSP. So thanks a lot for that. And we would love to have you back to learn more at some point in the future if you'd be available. And Dozer too,
yeah,
of course.
That'd be awesome. Oh my gosh, no. Dozer's not invited.
All right.
But thank you. I'll pass it along.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. I have seen you around on LinkedIn for years, it seems. So thanks so much for taking the time to catch up and to share with us this information. I hope you have a great day. For everybody out there listening, this was Abby Ferry and, of course, Dozer. Abby's a vice president in national construction practice with Hayes Company, and maybe most important today, a member of the ASSP WISE, which is Women in Safety Excellence, and a participant in the Women's Workplace Safety Summit. Abby, thanks so much again, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you so much. You too.
And I'm going to hit pause, and I'll meet you on the other side of the pause button.
Okay.